Ellis Team at RE/MAX. It's a family affair. Always call the Ellis Team. They'll handle you with care.
Welcome back to the Future of Real Estate. I'm Brett Ellis of the Ellis Team at RE/MAX, and it's that time of year again when we get tropical storms down here in Southwest Florida. It's beautiful, sunny Southwest Florida most of the time, but we do get some storms that blow through here, and we thought this week we would share with you some of our hurricane preparedness tips. Now, if you look at right now, we're about 5 days out from what they consider to be eventually Hurricane Isaac, I believe, and we are located about right here, and so they're looking at this being a hurricane pretty close to our neck of the woods. So it's nothing to get freaked out about. It's not predicted to be a major hurricane. If it is a major hurricane, I would probably recommend people think about possibly leaving or making sure they're in a very secure place. But we're going to share with you some tips. Now, this is one of my favorite websites. I go to flhurricane.com. It's always been one of my favorites because you get a lot of information. You get all the information from the National Hurricane Center, but they boil it down. They've got forums. You can kind of read what's going on, and you know a lot of times what's happening way before the news or the media reports it sometimes. So this is kind of the area of predicted probability in terms of where we may get some tropical storm force winds. This is the storm as it is right now, and these are some of the spaghetti plots coming here. We're on the southwest part of Florida here. I like the GFDL model, which is pointing this over on the East Coast. But National Hurricane Center is not agreeing with that. They're kind of saying, as of right now, 5 days out, they're saying maybe on the West Coast. There's a lot of variation here, both in intensity, speed, and direction. Because just, a degree here or there could be 100, 200 miles. The other thing is it's got to go over some rough terrain here in the Dominican Republic and Cuba. Some of these mountaintops are about 10,000 feet high, can really break up a storm. So that's why until you know where it goes over, you don't know how strong it's going to be. You don't know exactly when it's going to get here, and you don't know if it's going to take a turn or not. But all the models are kind of looking like they're in close alignment here. But here they're predicting this only to be a Category 1 storm. Now that's nothing to shake a stick at. You got to be careful with these things. But a 1 isn't a 4 or 5 on the Saffir-Simpson scale. So it can do some mild to moderate damage, and if you're out in it, it could be life-threatening. But it's not something we get terribly concerned about. And here's more of the spaghetti plots that they put up here. You can kind of see most of them are in close alignment, so we're probably going to get a storm. So with that, we want to share with you our hurricane tips. Now, we are not meteorologists, we're not law enforcement, we're not public safety, we're not anything like that. So all we are people that have been here. We've been selling real estate for 25 plus years, and we've just lived here and kind of have some tips and some knowledge we might want to share. So here's some of our tips. We're going to give some tips for agents first of all. If you're a newer agent, or if you haven't done this for a while, some things you might want to think about. Remove all your signs. Those signs can become projectiles, and if you get a chance, go out to your properties and kind of just remove all your signs. I would call your clients and kind of let them know. Maybe you want to suggest they put up their shutters if they have them, do whatever they can to protect their property. Some of your clients are going to be out of town, so they might not even know there's a storm brewing in the area. I would say back up your computers, because your data is critical and you don't want to lose that in a storm. And we can lose that through wind, things can blow away, or you can have rising water. So one thing we do is we unplug our computers and move them up to higher ground. We'll even move our computers up on top of desktops. That way, if we would happen to get, not likely, but if we ever would get, a foot or two of water in the office, hopefully our computers will be okay. But I like to take those backups off site so I can get my office back up and running in short order if we had to, okay? Now, here's some tips for the public that you might want to know about. The first one is always have an evacuation plan. This storm doesn't look like it's going to be bad. Although I remember Hurricane Charlie in 2004, and it got big, badder, faster in just coming off of Cuba, that west coast of Cuba, and it kind of surprised everyone. So pays to pay attention and have a plan. I would call your relatives, let them know what your plan is. You know how boaters, they recommend to have a plan? Tell your relatives, hey, we're going to be staying at Aunt Amy's house. We're staying at our house, we're hunkering down. Or we're going to drive up to Orlando, stay in a motel, not sure which motel, but we'll call you when we get there. Don't worry, we won't be in harm's way here, whatever. Just let people know what you're doing. I would have water for 3 to 5 days, because you know if the power goes out, sometimes you don't get water, you don't get certain things. You may not want to drink the water, the tap water, so it's not being purified. So if for every member in your house, I'd have water 3 to 5 days, and I'd probably have probably a gallon of water per person per day. Just ideally. Like I said, I'm sure there's better tips out there than ours, but that's just kind of what I found, and that's drinking water. If you need water for anything else, that's another story. Dry food. I mean, you may want canned food that you can open up, that you can eat cold, because you may not have electricity. If you've got a grill, you may want to have charcoal and that sort of thing, because that's a great way to heat up food. But always have that plan. I'll tell you a story. We had a client when Hurricane Charlie came through, and he was going to ride this thing out over on Sanibel Island. Well, we didn't know it, but Hurricane Charlie pretty much came right over Sanibel Island, cut Upper Captivo basically into 2 islands, and all this way right up into Charlotte Harbor. But his plan was he had his generator out back. So this guy, they closed Sanibel Island for like 2 weeks, and he was telling my dad, because he's one of my dad's clients, he said, yeah, my plan A was I was going to ride this out, have the generator, but as he was watching the storm coming, while he was watching, he saw the generator go whoop, and just flew off into the woods. And that was plan A, B, and C. So I would say bring your generators, never run them inside, but bring them inside so they don't blow away. You got to think these things through a little bit. Have batteries, because you're going to need radios, you're going to need portable TVs, charge your cell phone, that sort of thing. The other thing is fill your gas tank in your car, because after the storm, a lot of these gas stations aren't open for a couple days, so they don't have power. There's a law that they're supposed to have power. Last time I checked, most of these places weren't complying with the law. So I wouldn't assume that they're going to comply with the law. They could have damage. They could have signs come down and may not be able to open. You may not have a hard time getting to certain roads, and you have to take other roads. So always have a full tank of gas. Also, these roads can get busy, and you might be sitting in traffic for an hour or two, and it can get hot. So you might want to run your air conditioner and do a few different things. You got more options when you got a full tank of gas than if you have a half tank or quarter tank. I'll tell you that. So going in the storm, use those options. And here's a few more tips we've got for you. If you've got kids, get your formula, your diapers, that sort of thing, because you may have a hard time. Publix and some of these grocery stores may not be open. Medications, people don't always think about this, but if you're elderly, or if maybe you have diabetes, or a family member that's got anything, get those medications and keep them I put them in those gallon size Glad type bags where they're dry, because if you get water floating around in your house ever, you don't want your medications floating around either. Definitely charge that cell phone, because that cell phone can be your lifeline. Don't call needlessly, because those phone lines can get tied up after a storm. Everyone's going to want to know, are you okay? What's going on? Let 1 or 2 key people know up north if you need to, and let them make all the calls. Save our phone lines out here, but have that cell phone, because we might not have landlines for a couple days. You never know. Gas for your generator. I would, go out ahead of time, 2-3 days ahead of time, and get some gas for your generator, because if the power goes out and you have a generator, you're gonna want the gas, and when the storm comes, it's a little bit too late. Make sure you know the proper use of your generator. I think we have more people die from carbon monoxide poisoning, from fires, from different things, a couple people get electrocuted because they don't know how to hook those things up. Get an electrician to hook them up to your house. Make sure you don't run those things anywhere near a house, because that carbon monoxide can blow right in and kill your whole family. You don't want to be a tragedy after the storm just by using your generator. If you don't know how to use it, go to neighbors or get in the pool, or just don't use a generator. But if you know how to do it, make sure you're going to use it properly. That's the biggest thing we can say. If you're in a mobile home, I would leave. I mean, we nickname those things in real estate blowaways, because in a storm, they can blow away. So that's not the safest place to be. And always watch for storm surge. A lot of people think the winds are the biggest thing, but if you've got a storm, with packing 120 mile an hour winds, and it sits off your coast for a day or two, it can really move that water on shore, and that can flood out your house. And a lot of people actually get hurt or killed by the storm surge more than they ever do the actual wind blowing around. So just be cognizant of that storm surge, because that's an important thing. And that is our 2012 hurricane tips. We want you to stay safe. We got one maybe coming right at us. Like I said, we're not too worked up about it. We've been through them before. We'll be through them again. It's just part of living in Florida. But we don't have the big earthquakes. We don't seem to have the big tornadoes, but we do have these. And the nice thing is we get some notice. And when you get some notice, make use of that. Do some planning. Go up to the store. Excuse me. Don't wait till the last minute. And everybody should be just fine. And then after the storm, be patient. Be kind, courteous to your neighbors, help them out. That's the one thing I love about Southwest Florida is everyone's got a kind, courteous heart. They help out. You need some food, you need some air conditioning, you need some water. Everybody shares, everybody pitches in. If the traffic lights are out, be patient. I know there can be it's a stressful time on people, but if everyone's patient, everyone works together, we all get through it together. And that's one of the greatest things about America, about our country, and certainly Southwest Florida. We got great people, and we'll all get through it together. You've been watching The Future of Real Estate, presented by the Ellis Team at RE/MAX, and next week we will have something hopefully completely unrelated to hurricane or weather. And thanks for tuning in.
With the Ellis Team at RE/MAX, it's a family affair. Always call the Ellis